When you read the whole of the book of Jeremiah, in many ways it is a very difficult book to read. Jeremiah is called as, well, a very young man to give a message that he didn't really want to give. The Lord called him to tell the people of Jerusalem that they were going to lose the war, that their city was going to be taken and destroyed, and that most of them would be deported to another country. We can imagine why Jeremiah didn't really want to give this message. And I don't think it's too hard to understand how it was the people responded to what Jeremiah had to tell them. That essentially their sins had come to fruition, and the consequences of their actions were now going to be fulfilled. Jeremiah was not the most popular person in Jerusalem, as we can imagine. And they did try to kill him. They tried to silence him in other ways. They did everything they could to ensure that people would not hear his message. But, that's a good thing about Catholics, there's always a but. But, though Jeremiah gave such a difficult message, as we hear today, in the midst of everything that he proclaimed, there was a message of hope. They departed in tears, but I will console them and guide them. I will lead them to brooks of water on a level road, so that none shall stumble. In other words, Jeremiah is promising a return to the city, a return to the land, but not immediately. And in that message, the message that Jeremiah gives is something that the blind man Bartimaeus understands. He, through his life, would have been hearing the messages of Jeremiah, of Isaiah, of Ezekiel. Messages that were tough to hear at times, but always contained that message of hope. That things will change. That things can get better. And it is with that, as he heard of the coming of Jesus, that Bartimaeus came to see what others could not, what they were blinded to. That yes, Jesus gave a difficult message. Too often we see in our faith today that people turn Jesus into sort of a soundbite. It's the easy things that we listen to. But as Jesus proclaimed his message, it was a message that was as difficult to hear as Jeremiah. But he still gave a message of hope. And it was that Bartimaeus could hear. And so through his faith, he could see the message of hope that Jesus was proclaiming. He could see what others could not. And we know that because what did they tell him as he cried out for Jesus? Be quiet. Keep to yourself. Which caused Bartimaeus to cry out all the louder, all the more certainly. Because ultimately, when we truly open up to our faith, when we open up to the truth that our God proclaims to us. Faith always brings hope, even in the midst of the most difficult situations that we can come to face. Ultimately, because Bartimaeus heard those promises, told to him over and over again through the great prophets. He heard the promises of his God, and he trusted. He trusted in what God had promised to him. And so, in that trust, he could open in faith to the hope that was so certain. And no matter what others may tell us, as they tried to tell Bartimaeus, we must focus on that faith. We must focus on those promises of our God. For it is there that we will discover the hope that we need. But ultimately, we must ask ourselves, how are we like those in the crowd that day? What is preventing us from seeing what needs to be seen with the heart of faith? What is blinding us right now to that hope that our God desires all of us to have? Yes, the Christian message at times is a difficult message. It is not an easy message to truly live if we embrace all that Christ teaches us. But it is a message that has promises with it. And it is to those promises that we are called to come to place our trust in. It is there that we come to open our eyes in faith to discover the hope that is just before us. May we be like Bartimaeus. May we use our eyes of faith and choose no longer to be blind, but to hear those words that Jesus told to him so long ago that he desires to say to us this day. Go your way. Your faith has saved you. May we trust in the words of Jesus, and in that discover our hope.